Go for it.
Pass it down to. Sir. There, sir.
Call to order. All right, we'll start off with citizens' comments and reports. Do we have anyone signed up to speak or here to speak?
Oh, she did.
All right, well, if there's no one here to comment, we'll move on to the next item, items for consideration. We have the meeting minutes from the last meeting here. I don't know if anyone needs time to read those or not.
You can borrow mine. I got one.
We have a motion to adopt the meetings as presented. I'm sorry, the minutes as presented.
For the last two meetings.
The last two. I
in
barely read the
February
last
and
one.
April.
I motion that we adopt the minutes as presented.
1 second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. We'll go on to D. Sipping right along today. Update and general discussion on animal shelter renovation capital improvement project by Assistant City Manager. So we've been going through this for quite a while. We got that final design. Shared it with the city manager. What we're gonna do is we're gonna present this at the upcoming goals workshop for discussion with city council. That'll happen on the 27th, I do believe. It's an all-day meeting. And I do believe it may go on to the 28th, if memory serves me right. So some of the discussion will be, of course, all that, what the scope is. Originally we were budgeted $280,000. I believe that was to only include an office remodel and possibly the restrooms. But going back to the history, animal officer at the time, animal control officer at the time, Rick Gleason. Hey, how you doing? Recommended adding or purchasing an additional kennel facility to add on to the building. So that brought in discussions on doing phase work. So basically where that led to is after kind of what I want to call scope creep, we now have a cost of $1,181,000 at the total reno. That would be the cost. So this is going to go to city council for discussion on basically costs and possibly phasing this project. Is that what they're wanting to do? So having the architect get back to me on what dividing this would look like in a phase, right? So the two phases that we're game planning is, do we want to just do a remodel on the inside? And the next phase, which would probably be the following budget, I assume, would be the add-on to the building with the additional kennels. So that's going to be discussion with council, and we'll get direction from them on what their thoughts are. With that, I have nothing else. I don't know if you have anything, Chief, or anyone else, Capital.
And your 1.1 was just strictly architecture renovations. It's not including any kind of additional staff.
Correct. Yeah, that price tag included the building rehaul, with the addition and remodel.
That would include some of the furnishings.
I don't believe it had furnishings.
No, but wasn't that kennels off to the side and then remodeling that building?
Right, allow access to the kennels
Yep.
from the outside individually,
Right.
as opposed to having to go through a central corridor.
Right.
So again, let's just bring this to council and we'll see what their direction is on this. All right, if there is no other questions, I'll move on to the next item. Next item is update on general discussion on animal shelter medicine and management recommendations. So let me pass this around. We have three different stacks here.
It could be the same. You only get part of it.
Oh, okay.
Only one.
That's okay. Yeah, I think I created this document, so.
That's the one we did.
Yeah, we have a copy of it somewhere in here.
So does everyone have a copy of the three documents?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
three
sorry.
Documents?
There we go.
Oh,
All right, no rush.
it was like three.
Three different pages.
We're sharing.
We're sharing. Okay.
Oh, this is not weird. Yeah, one that's good. Okay.
Never.
That one. This is basic. This is the cost and this is the recommendations.
Oh, there's another one. This one's-
No. Oh, look, and we found an extra. Yeah, we
Yes.
found an extra. Look,
Oh, you found an extra?
this one. There you go. There, yeah.
Yay, okay. Good.
Okay, everyone has three documents.
Yep.
One should be shelter medicine management recommendations, then it says cost analysis. A separate document says shelter medicine and management recommendations without cost analysis, or basically doesn't have cost analysis. And then the other one is animal shelter medical treatment record. So I'll start with the shelter medicine management recommendations. That doesn't say cost analysis underneath it. This was presented at our last meeting. Ms. Paula basically wrote this recommendation on a policy for intake, vaccinations, heartworm prevention, and skin conditions, and also respiratory infections. So these were some recommendations she thought that city should, take into consideration as preventative care measures. So after that meeting, during that meeting, what we were discussing was, well, how much will this cost? So that leads us into the next page where it says shelter medicine recommendations cost analysis. So not studying this really hard, I guess, Ms. Baker, the cost analysis and the other one, they basically line up. It's the same document, but one just gives you, I would assume, description of care, whereas the other one is the actual care product or medicine, if you will, in the cost, right?
Correct.
Okay, so they match up.
Yes.
And then for the cost analysis, where it will start off where it says dogs, it has heartworm test, DHLPP vaccine. These are the costs that you see there, what you're recommending as an individual cost, like the 348 to 435. That's how much it costs. It should cost per dog, right?
Right.
Okay. So we got that, and you go down, it's the same thing. And it says total cost of intake if dog is relatively healthy, about a 40-pound dog should cost us between 30 and 40 bucks. And then total startup costs for tests, this other item and multiple other items. What a total startup sum of looks like $789 to $895. That is what you're suggesting what the city could spend or should budget annually.
No, it's not annually. This is more, so to start up, like you cannot just buy a single dose of vaccine. You're gonna have to buy kits of 25. So your startup cost would be buying a flat of vaccine, a bottle of dewormer. Now, how long will that last? That depends strictly on population. The other thing that you'll see that's left off of this cost analysis is the cost of the spay and neutering. The cost and the analysis is strictly what I feel the shelter can do on their own without a veterinarian's oversight and assistance. They can be trained to do these things. This is about how much it would cost to bring it on board. And then we need to show the staff there how to do it. But that's not including the cost of a spay or neuter.
Okay,
You see that?
About how much time would it take, once they're trained up to do that as part of the intake? How long would it take to administer these meds?
Oh, you should be able to bring an animal in, do a quick little physical, get a few, a temperature and a weight and give them a vaccine, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, because we do the shots for the cats and dogs and it takes me a minute.
Yeah, it
that.
does. I mean, but you should do a little bit of preliminary. I'm gonna check and make sure I don't see skin conditions or an infection or what's your temperature and what's your weight and all of that needs to be recorded. I will grant you that it is easier and faster to actually administer medications than it is to create the record. And whether you're doing it in your software that you're getting, which would be great, or whether you're writing it on this piece of paper that's also included. It is so important that we document it and have a record of it. Because at the clinic, we're totally lost on what's been done and hasn't been done when they come in. So I think I spend almost an equal amount of time in my practice here record keeping as I do actually examining. It's huge.
so I'm trying to figure this out. We got dogs and then you give us a good breakdown of costs.
Right?
Should be cost per dog. And then it says, between $33 and $40 a dog. Then you have the total startup costs, again, that 800 to 900 range. That's just is that for buying one flat, one bottle, as we were saying?
Well, that's 25 doses. Yeah, a vaccine, your dewormer might last longer than 25 dogs, but again, it depends on the cost, but the size of the dogs.
Okay,
Your ivermectin 50 mils lasts a pretty good long time. 6 months.
We're
That's
contracting most of this out right now, and it's over $100 an animal.
Hmm.
The contract now.
Is
Yeah,
that, okay, yeah.
But I think the other thing that we're seeing so much of when we examine the animals that come from the shelter is diseases and infections that are costing you more because they could have been preventable. So we're treating respiratory infections, we're treating dewormings, we're, simple things that could have been prevented. And I would hate to say it, but I feel like it's probably true. Also, some heartworm disease. There's some animals that end up in the shelter long enough that they could be getting the heartworms from living at the shelter. And now you've got $1,000 disease that could have been prevented.
And then for cats below, we have the same thing with total costs per cat and then total startup. I guess maybe I can get with Chief or BJ or anyone. Do you think this is enough information for you guys to maybe try to figure out a number and maybe make it a request item at the upcoming budget goals workshop?
We probably can for $1,000 or whatever, probably wouldn't impact our budget at all.
Right. Okay. So we feel like this is probably enough information on this sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I guess maybe the discussion at the goals workshop will be, costs using this page, and then also the other accompanying page with that, with the what would you call this? An intake recommendation or just it says shelter medicine management recommendations, yeah. Or this is beyond just intake,
It's a standard of care intake.
standard of
Yeah,
care intake.
Yeah, it's
Would that be the best way to form?
or
a
even
protocol.
Yeah.
a standard of care protocol as an animal comes into the shelter.
Okay. I guess they would go hand in hand. If council were to adopt this. Gotcha. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for helping us,
Well, Billy had a lot to do with finding the information as well.
Yeah, thank
but,
you.
Yeah,
we appreciate this.
That's a good feet to stand on.
yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Okay, are there any other discussions or recommendations on this item while we're talking about it?
On this, some of this stuff is, let's see, monthly. Like the heartworm prevention is
Yes,
gonna be monthly,
heartworm
so
prevention would be monthly.
then the what, but the deworming? Is that,
Deworming is usually twice. It's usually
Okay.
on intake and then 2 weeks later. Some things might involve a third deworming, but it doesn't often have to be repeated over and over and over. I'd like to see some protocols to where we don't have animals in the shelter for 6 months or a year. That's crazy talk, because
right,
that adds a lot of expense, a
mhm.
lot of expense.
But yet, this is the only thing that we would have to buy, but he would have to administer monthly, is that ivermectin?
The heartworm, yes,
Okay, so that's just only maybe to keep,
Yeah.
everything else is just
it's
Well,
just
that's it.
intake.
okay.
That's
Yes.
great questions. Is that clarified in this document? You know, his questions? I mean, can
It
they,
should be on
could
the
they follow
preventative.
this, like, you know, as almost like instructions, you know?
Yeah, so you see where it's talking about the deworming should occur every 2 weeks. It needs to happen at least 2 times, 2 weeks apart. Typically, when you have them on preventative, you're going to prevent some of those from reoccurring. The heartworm should be monthly. Let me see, given orally.
Yeah, it's on your
I'm not
cost
sure if it
analysis
says
at the
that.
bottom. Yeah, the cost
Yeah.
analysis shows given.
Yeah, I was just wondering
is
though if
up.
it was on the protocol part.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at entry and monthly, yes.
And can you over medicate them if we pick up an animal that's already had these medications in there? It's somebody's.
It's
pet.
really hard to overdose heartworm prevention. So if somebody's given them to them that month and you accidentally give it the next day, yeah, you're not gonna hurt them. It's
And none of these
okay.
other things can be overdosed either.
Your deworming's not really. Yes, they can be overdosed, but not if it's the standard dose. There's that much room for error.
So if we pick up a dog that turns out to be somebody's pet that's stray.
Yeah.
And we do this as part of the standard
Right.
protocol, we're not gonna put that animal at risk.
I don't believe so. No, no. And I guess there's some discussion for when I would try to start it immediately. You've got a 3-day hold. That there's a little room for error, like you don't need to do rabies, but you should be doing distemper and parvo even on those dogs. And no, you're not gonna hurt them if you revaccinate them.
All righty, well, great. I guess,
If we're gonna put this as a discussion item for the budget. Let's have a discussion on adjusting the fee schedule also to reflect the cost of doing this,
yeah,
so that particularly if it's a stray or something like that,
right.
that the owner who's let their animals roam free.
Yeah, fee schedule definitely has to be accompanied with this. Yes, sir.
I was actually gonna ask that question. Do we charge you fees? Does everyone uniformly pay a fee when their animal picked up?
The first time is 25 per dog, second time you pick up is 50, third time is 75.
It seems kind of modest.
Yeah.
I asked that question because in the past, and I mean a long time in the past, I can't even remember who the animal control officer was at the time. A lot of locals didn't pay a fee, they just got their dog back or whatever.
Right.
But paying a fee would cover some costs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it needs to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would be
$25
glad to
hurt
pay a
much.
fee to get my dog back.
Yeah, no, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I don't know what some other cities' standard fees are, but I bet none of them are $25.
The issue we run into is a lot of the animals we pick up will belong to transients and people that don't have the means to pay for them, so we're gonna have to figure out some kind of a scholarship program or something to.
Yeah, because there are
Help
plenty of
with
times,
that.
like if I pick up a dog from the beach, the guy living on the beach and he's like, man, I'm broke. You know, this and that. And so, yeah, we have to try to figure something out to help that out. And then, of course, I get the normal people that keep letting their dogs out and I catch them and I know who the owner is. So call them, come up here, they pay their fee, so on and so forth.
And we also need to look at the fee for adoptions. I mean, I think there's some animals that are getting adopted for nothing or minimal, and these people can't afford to take care of these animals. Then we're stuck with all kinds of crazy bills that they can't handle, and then what happens? They bring them back to you.
Mhm.
That happened recently.
I've kind of been paying attention to the news, you know, the TML news gets sent out all the time. There was one city, I forget what they call it, maybe it's TNR, but basically they created a policy where if they caught a stray cat, they brought it in, sprayed it, neuter it, and released it, put it back.
Well, yeah, that's a common practice in a lot of cities to, and then you clip the ear. So you know it's already been done. So
So
you
if you
can,
catch it again, you're like, well,
I don't have to take this one in. I don't have to spay and neuter or vaccinate it. It's been done. It's got an ear clip. So that is a very common practice, but that's a non-owned animal.
I did that for 25 years.
Yeah,
In
that's,
San Antonio, Houston.
yeah, that's
And it helps cut down on the cat population,
of
definitely.
course, it might
Right.
accidentally feed the coyote population.
then you get the
I'll
people
have
that
to-
will say about, you get the tag and release the cats, they eat the bird eggs and things like that.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
that stuff, so.
Right.
yeah, it's
Maybe
got a lot of pros and cons.
While we're talking, fee changes, maybe there's other policy recommendations we can present to at the same time, if there are. Yeah, maybe whenever we review the fee schedule, it might spur some ideas of what exactly those fees are and what the policies are behind those. I don't have a copy of it in front of me right now.
Is the city enforcing any kind of licensing?
We
really
do have the
aren't.
city tags, and I do, every time I pick up a dog, I tell you, there are city tags at City Hall, they're $5 for a tag, I believe. And you need to get them, but once I tell them, they get them.
I mean, a lot of towns are dropping the tags.
Yeah.
Like, I know Austin doesn't tag anymore.
Yeah, I know we have tags and they are available.
But that's, yeah, but I mean, like, if you pick a non-tag dog up,
Mhm.
are they gonna get fined for having an unlicensed dog?
I think it's
More so than the other.
yes, it's a $10 fine when you don't have a city tag.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on while we're on this item related to medicine and management recommendations? Excellent. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much, Paula, for this. I think this is good info for us to bring into our upcoming budget discussions. All right, we'll move on to D, animal shelter update by Animal Control Officer Robert Grimes.
Well, still got a whole bunch of dogs and cats. I want to thank Joellen, everybody that would help volunteer. Brenda, sorry, I forgot your name. I apologize. They've helped me out quite a bit. Same with Lawrence when they came and helped me do a big old declutter of the shelter. It only took a big old weight off my shoulders. It's something I was slowly doing, but when you have more people helping you get rid of some stuff, it goes by a lot faster. So I appreciate you guys. I really
Oh,
do.
thanks.
No problem.
But that's pretty much the newest thing. We've done a whole bunch of cleaning. So it's pretty much what's new. Everything else is same old, same old.
Very good. I guess I'll also add to that, we're trying to get BJ some help. I think you guys got some applications, right?
We'll try to do interviews next week.
That's great. Great news. So things are going on up and up. Got the place cleaned up and get him some help.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
We're still working, but he's got a lot of cats and dogs, so he still needs help, and so we don't, we'll hopefully get some more volunteers. I don't mind going down there and helping. The cats are a handful.
Yeah, Brenda and I were actually talking about that on the way over here, and we've got a slew of people that have gone through the background and been approved, and Brenda suggested, which I think is a good idea, that maybe we reach out to what we've already got.
Yeah,
And
and
see if they're interested in coming back.
I think when Brenda used to be on there, they had a volunteer schedule, so they could.
The coordinator,
Yeah.
the coordinator, the schedule.
And you said you wanted to do that? Was that part of that discussion? I remember, yeah.
I know what her answer was.
Yeah.
I asked her that too. But I mean. Cause there's a lot of people here willing to help and stuff and just organize, I guess. When you get help, there's still, even if you have two people, you're still gonna need help unless we get rid of most of these animals. So we just need to. I don't know if it's okay with you guys if I reach out to some rescues or. And
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
pretty much been a lot of our protocols, and the problem is that the rescues are all full now too, and
I know,
they're not taking them
somebody
either.
told me there might be a couple that.
I know I recently reached
Every
out
now and
to one that we've worked with, the Make a Stand or Take a Stand Bully Rescue. She
Yeah.
took, well, not she, it was a lady that picked them up. Two of our little pit bull puppies, and I sent her an email with two of our pit bulls that we have, Raven and Angel. To see if maybe they'd be available to help try to find us homes, help
Yeah,
reach out with their network. So I'm waiting to hear back from them.
yeah, and that lady looked at Raven the other day.
Yeah, I don't, she says she's gonna come by every Saturday, try to do a little bonding with the dog.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
see it personally, but
don't
I hope.
Um, Brenda had a suggestion too about, you know, how we were in there and you're in there sometimes and we
Mhm.
knock on the door and you can't hear us.
Yeah, if I'm in
Maybe
the
get
back. I-
buzzer or a ring at the front that jingles your phone or something when somebody comes by, so they don't leave an animal again like they did Sunday.
Yeah.
Ugh, it was terrible. But, I don't know. Suggestions?
I still suggest that we have an employee there
Yes.
40 hours a week so that these guys can do their job.
Oh, I guess that's it. I mean, does it take, I guess my question is, does it take two people? Do there have to be two people riding around in the truck all the time?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if that was protocol. I mean, or what, so,
Actually, we just had, when VJ and Rick were both, active, we changed our schedule up and put them on a 4-day work week each, so there's only one overlapping day.
oh, okay.
And it gave
So,
us
Which
more
just
coverage,
goes-
gave us
so then it's just one person every day?
every day except for one.
Right.
Oh, well, we need two though. right?
Exactly. You cannot do all these. I gotta take your temperature and I gotta weigh you and I gotta vaccinate. You cannot do that single-handed. It's,
Or one clean.
somebody's gonna get bit. The liability involved in that by yourself is high.
That's why I had suggested a vet tech, a temporary. A part-time vet
Yeah.
tech that they could contract out.
I
But
mean, you
I'm
know,
still trying to find people that would give us.
a vet
any
tech or
grants.
even, you know, even a lower paid kennel person, but somebody that is there that can do data entry. That would enter all your medical records into your computer system, clean the cages, and then be there when you or your other partner was there. To hold animals for the vaccines and the exam,
Chief, are we budgeted for that? What are we budgeted?
or not.
Budget for 2 full-time positions.
Okay,
The vet tech, I was trying to find grants for that. But unfortunately, the foundations that I've dealt with only fund 501Cs. Or
Okay.
503C. And. The city is not going to be able to.
So the full-time, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay.
So I guess the full-time is, are they working the weekends too, basically? I see.
We have 2 here, we have somebody scheduled every day.
So one works Saturday and one works a Sunday, and that's why it's 4 during the week. Yeah. I see.
Yeah, I mean, something to look at too is the overlapping day. You can make that an intake day and catch up on the shots and stuff and get them all weighed in. That's an option too.
Hmm.
Or we could go back to a 5-day work week and have 3 overlapping days or 4 overlapping days, so. But that just gives us less coverage,
Right.
so.
May I ask, okay, so what if volunteers, let's say for somebody that has knowledge more than me, I can go there and do, but I really don't know how to treat the dog, I mean, I would not trust.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe someone that is retired in house and retired, something that can do few hours, so for the time being, nothing else. Somebody can use on that yesterday.
The problem we have is we have a lot of people that think they want to volunteer. And they come down and they spend 1 hour and decide that it's not what they want to do.
Right.
There are a lot of people that want to volunteer and all they want to do is play with the kittens or take the dogs for a walk, and they don't want to do any of the other
And
Yeah.
physical manual labor that's involved.
dog walking is great, but yeah, you're right. And you can't depend on volunteers to
Yeah.
be there because they are volunteers.
I did have a,
Like a younger
Some
person.
of us are different.
yeah.
I totally agree, but and you're also gonna run into, whether it's a volunteer or not, you're gonna run into some liability issues. If you have a volunteer that gets bit, you know, technically, even if we have volunteers at the vet clinic, we are supposed to be paying workman's comp. We are supposed to be paying their insurance, even if they are strictly a volunteer position, because they are in a high-risk position. So then we're left with this. I don't know about you, Billy. In my practice, I'm like, I am just gonna pay you $15 an hour because I'm still gonna have to pay all these insurances.
We have some volunteers, that are high school kids and stuff like that, but they're through their school doing it, so there's some coverage there because they're part of that. But what I was gonna ask is, what about people that break the law and they need some, instead of picking up trash on the side of the road,
Community service.
they need service?
Which we do work with some community service people, but at the same time, it's kind of, do I want somebody who's gonna actually do it? Or am I gonna want somebody that's gonna kind of,
Well, I
Those
think that
little-
might be a motivator,
yeah.
but maybe.
When I tell people, I get people call me, I got community service, I'll tell them exactly what they're gonna do. You're gonna be changing litter boxes, you're gonna be spraying kennels, and they're like, oh, I'll show up. Oh, they never show up.
So you said you had to run a background, chief. Is that? See, just apply to animal control, the background and all that protocol? Who-
We run backgrounds on all the volunteers, but we're not looking for people that have DWI convictions or PIs. You know, we're looking for people that have drug related issues or child abuse issues, those type of things. If you got a DWI in your background or a PI, it's not gonna. A hot check, it's not gonna necessarily exclude you from being a volunteer.
I see.
Yeah. I did have a younger person that was working in a restaurant that, and she said, well, do they hire part-time or something like that? 'Cause she still wants to keep that job, but maybe do something else, so I don't know. If that's anything we're interested in.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you.
Even if you had somebody that worked 20 hours a week, that's 5 4-hour days. That would be data entry and some cleaning.
I'll put extra effort into finding some funds.
Yeah,
Hired some students through
Kingsville,
Corpus Christi, through Handshake. And they need animal experience if they want to go to that school or whatever.
right?
And so that's kind of a motivator for them to want to come in and volunteer. And it will be paid. They have to be driving before the license because they don't go to leave here. I know it. Yeah, I had one experience, they can do it in Corpus, so. Yeah, I had one I had to pay for gas to get her out here.
it's tough.
It is.
Well, that's basically what I proposed to the Clayburgh Foundation, to set up a fellowship for training veterinary students. And they said that because we weren't,
Because we're not a nonprofit. Yeah.
they couldn't do it. But that's my approach, is to try to find people that need it for their career, and that
Right.
we would benefit from that because they'd already trained.
Right.
And things like that.
And I just talked to a student last week that I'm like, you've got to diversify. Working one summer at a vet clinic is great, but it's not enough. So yeah, throwing in shelters, throwing in zoos, throwing in large animal, they have to have that diversity.
Very good.
Are we seeing more animals because of, people are dumping more over here, or just we have more people running around here?
I would say so.
Yeah, I think
Right.
so too. We had 22 cats and
Mhm.
$15. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, I was reading online, just keep reading these articles, but Corpus and all of them are having the same problem.
Yeah.
There's increases pretty much everywhere.
I get people call me from Corpus, Rockport, Aransas Pass. I tell them, I say, I can't take your animals. You're not from Port Aransas. I can't take anything that's from outside.
Yeah.
And then 9 times in 10, what do they do? They'll make
Yeah.
a trip to Port A and they'll go to the beach, or they'll go on the highway, and 9
Mhm.
times in 10, they'll dump them out.
They got money over there, take them on.
Guess where they end up?
Right.
Here.
Do you have any other updates for us? No. Well, very good. I think this was good discussion. We got some items we can probably discuss with council and get their direction. All righty, we'll move on to the next item. Discuss, take action on scheduling next meeting. I think probably at this time, I'm suggesting we go back to what our ordinance calls for. It says that we shall meet 3 times a year. So from today, that would put us in October. I was looking at October 26th, which is a Thursday. Reason for that is that's the start of the new budget year, and we usually have a lot going on those first couple of weeks in October. But this will also get us past our budget goals workshop. once that's done, we're getting into July, we're starting to set the budget, have public hearings, develop the budget and have council finalize it. So we probably, once this process begins here at the end of this month, it'll be all the way up till September, about the time we have an adopted, approved budget. Is that standard, usually September, roughly? Whenever council puts out the new plan for what the monies are and whatnot, plans. So if everyone's good with that, that's why I'm recommending we just go ahead, go back to what the meeting 3 times a year. So that would be every 4 months. 4 months from now is October 26th. We should have a finalized budget by that time. But in the meanwhile, as council starts discussing these items related to the animal shelter, as things develop and we have updates, we'll get everyone updates via email. So everyone's apprised of what's going on. So Thursday, October 26th, that sound good, everyone? All righty. And with that, do we have we can go around the room with Animal Shelter Advisory Council comments and items for future consideration? Anyone like to kick that off? If there is any?
Chief, you know of any other grants out there or anything? I know you have been searching for grants.
Yeah, I might be able to donate some of myself. We're in the process of selling a large property in my family. My siblings and I, so I might come into some funding. So I could at least fund a part-time vet tech. As a grant. And I've been working with Chief. on
Good,
that.
good for you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that would be
Well,
all.
let's hope.
And not start another 501c3 that partners with the shelter so that you can get funds. I know how the last one turned out, so. But can you not do that? So you can get grant money that's only available to a 501c3.
We as a city would want to be involved in
That
that.
would have to be a third party that did that and then
Oh, look at me.
they partnered with the city as opposed to the city partnering with them. So,
Right. Well, yeah.
So we need somebody to step up and say, I'm gonna open this file. I got
I think it's easier for me to just find some money.
Oh,
On that note, I'm gonna just make sure that the money that I raise with the output, lower people. Goes to the shelter. It's still for the rances, but it doesn't say anywhere. Miscellaneous reimbursements.
so every penny that's donated to the city that's earmarked for the animal shelter
Yeah,
gets budgeted exclusively for the animal shelter
Okay.
and it carries over from year to year. I mean, there's budgeting mechanisms that have to be done by law where money's transferred to the general fund, but then it's earmarked from the general fund. To be used as donations for the shelter.
Yeah.
okay, so if you need it for the food, for the whatever that's necessary.
Right, every penny that we've taken in since I've been here has been earmarked and used exclusively for.
As long as it says on the note that it's for them, that's what it goes.
Yeah, if it's donated monies, that means not funded through the city. It's external coming in. That always goes into, as you're saying, chief, and because I talked to finance director, all those monies go into, they have an account or a line item for donated funds. So it just keeps building as those come in.
oh, it does have a line item.
It's its own spot.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
What's the oversight on those funds?
Oversight.
Yeah, as to what that money buys. Food, vaccinations.
So basically, council sets the budget, and that's why we're starting to discuss, do the budget goals workshop. They'll set the budget and it'll go line by item, a line on them. We got a million line items here. And we talk about all the things we want to fund and what that number is. So that line item will be what it is because it's money's coming in. So it's there. So whenever there needs to be an expense, that's through the police department. What is that typically?
I'm basically the oversight, every purchase that comes through there. And we have budgeted funds and we have donated funds, so basically all the medical supplies and stuff like that. That's what we've been able to use through donations. We use the budgeted funds basically as operation costs for the shelter.
So probably Jay would say, hey, I have a situation, chief, or
Yeah, he needs the uniforms, we're gonna buy that out of general fund money.
Okay.
He needs a dog spade, we're gonna use donated money to cover the cost of the spade.
All right, I gotta keep,
That's what it is, it come out of, the budget or.
Right.
Or the money that's been raised.
Right.
I'm gonna keep this going along. We're getting a little bit off topic. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So any other comments from our advisory council? All right, there being none, I'm calling for adjournment. All those, anyone in favor? Everyone, I'm second. Do we have a second? Yep, all those, anyone opposed? Nope. I'll call for it, Joanna. Second, none opposed. Thank you. Thank y'all for meeting.
We need some applications for the